Good morning and welcome to Hartselle Memorial Church. My name is D. Josiah Montgomery. I'm the pastor of this community of faith. Since 1911, this church has served the Douglas community of Bronzeville after St. Mark, our founding church. I'm going to introduce to you Dr. Kimberly Davis, who's also a CPD officer, who is coming on behalf of our conference as a representative.
Good morning, family. It is a pleasure to stand before you on behalf of Reverend Dr. Audria Nanabre. She is the our Lake South District Superintendent. I am also United Methodist Clergy, so I am serving in a different capacity right now, and I thank you for coming and being here. But on behalf of Reverend Dr. Nanabre and our Bishop Dan Schwinn, thank you for coming and being here as we just celebrate Earth Day, and thank Mr. Mayor for being here, and thank him and all those who have a collective effort and vested interest in our planet. Amen. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you Chicago's mayor, Mayor Brandon Johnson.
Well, good morning, everyone, and happy Earth Day. I want to first thank our pastor, Josiah Montgomery, of course, this wonderful congregation, Hartselle Memorial United Methodist Church, for hosting us this morning. And furthermore, thank you, all of you, for helping us lead the charge amongst our first set of small businesses and nonprofits who have been awarded grants through the Climate Infrastructure Fund. I'm grateful that the Alder of the 43rd Ward is here, Alderman Timmy Knudsen. Can you all give him a nice round of applause? Timmy? Our Chancellor of our City Colleges of Chicago, Juan Salgado, was here. Juan, could you wave? We also have State Representative Kimberly DuBuclet is here as well. State Representative, where are you? There she is. And then, of course, I want to thank the White House and the U.S. Department of Treasury for being here and bringing resources forward so that the people of this great city can benefit from this transformation. And finally, a special thanks to our co-sponsor, the World Business Chicago, and all of the staff that made this event possible. Today is truly an exciting day for the city of Chicago. Not only are we joined by the White House and the Department of Treasury, but we are here in this beautiful historic church to discuss and inspire a cleaner, greener, and brighter future. And more specifically, today we will discuss how to best utilize the financial incentives in the Inflation Reduction Act and explain how community organizations, government agencies, and nonprofits can use the available federal funds for energy efficiency. I'm grateful that we can gather here today, particularly as my administration works hard to play a leading role in combating the climate crisis while supporting a robust green economy and, of course, supporting the hardworking families of the city of Chicago. I'm proud to share and celebrate some of the steps that my administration has taken towards a more resilient future. And this includes expanding funding by an additional $5 million to the city's Climate Infrastructure Fund to bring a second round of funding to small businesses and nonprofit organizations. With those grants, 54 finalists are now installing renewable energy, or they are retrofitting decarbonizing their buildings, purchasing electric vehicles and charging stations, or implementing green infrastructure solutions. As we work to ensure that small businesses and community centers can be energy efficient, we are ensuring city government and our agencies to be efficient as well. The city has installed hundreds of charging stations and has already converted over 23% of our light-duty vehicle fleet to all electric, and that number is growing quickly. 23% is not bad, y'all. I mean, I know in the grading scale, but y'all can clap a little bit. It's a small clap. In fact, though, our foresters, who play a role in planting our goal of 75,000 trees over the next 5 years, are doing so in electric Ford Lightning F-150s. We have also completed lighting retrofits in Humboldt Park as well as South Chicago branch libraries, where later this year we will install energy-efficient HVAC and on-site solar panels. And we have more libraries lined up for the same type of investment. And of course, I'd be remiss if I did not mention our environmental justice policies. First and foremost, my administration reestablished the City of Chicago's Department of Environment to focus on and coordinate our efforts under the leadership of our Chief Sustainability Officer, Angela Tovar. A few months ago, I introduced the Clean and Affordable Buildings Ordinance, an idea born out of collaboration between government and community to ensure that we move forward on our homes and businesses, to build them to the highest standards, of course, and to eliminate reliance on fossil fuels. And furthermore, with this ordinance, here's what we are able to do: improve indoor quality and reduce the risk of childhood asthma and other respiratory illnesses. We can ensure that we are catalyzing growth in the clean energy economy here in Chicago so that our young people, returning residents, and all workers can have access to good paying jobs in the clean job sector. And finally, we can position the City of Chicago, nonprofits, developers, and building owners to maximize the almost $400 billion for spending for climate mitigation and clean energy investments put forth by the Biden administration through the Inflation Reduction Act. Our work to combat climate change through investments in innovative policies will continue. We will continue so that all of our residents, and especially those who suffer the most because of the severe pollutive greenhouse gas emissions, that they can live and breathe clean air in a healthy and resilient neighborhoods. Now, what I'm about to talk about next might trigger a few people. And I know no one wants to talk about taxes after April 15th, but just bear with me because the federal tax incentives for clean energy are remarkable. I'm told that we will learn more about this today from our friends from the Biden administration about a new opportunity allowing community-based organizations, public agencies, faith institutions, and others to get clean energy payments from the IRS, even as those institutions do not pay taxes. My entire team is focused on maximizing these tax incentives for the city itself and, of course, our sister agencies. And I encourage you all to learn and lean into this opportunity as well. Also today, I want to challenge everyone here, including my team, to begin thinking about ways that we can partner together to make sure that these tax incentives actually reach the communities and the folks who want to see a just transition to a cleaner world. But we need the financial resources to do so. My vision includes training and guidance available to all Chicagoans so that any church or small business who buys an electric vehicle or installs solar panels can get a check from the IRS. Yes, get a check from the IRS.
Bravo!
I just want to be very clear. The only way you get that check is by taking steps towards a cleaner future. I will let our federal colleagues fill us in on the details of that program. But let me once again say this. This is truly an exciting day for the city of Chicago. On this Earth Day, I'm grateful to meet with all of you and plan for a resilient future. Chicago is clearly ready to take action to combat the climate change and truly build a better, stronger, safer, a healthier Chicago for everyone. And I look forward to the continuous work and the partnership that we will do together. And thank you again. And now it is truly my honor to welcome our two individuals who are, I don't know if they have checks in their pocket, but we're certainly glad that they're here, Mr. Ryan Whalen and Tonacine Carmona. Can you all give them a warm welcome?
Mayor Johnson, thank you for bringing us together today. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you to your team, Angela, Jared, and so many others who've been fantastic partners over the years. To Pastor Montgomery, thank you for your hospitality and for bringing us together in your beautiful church here. This church is such a wonderful vision of what is possible through the city's Climate Infrastructure Fund, and really such a great example of what the Inflation Reduction Act can be doing for communities and institutions throughout Chicago and across the country. The Inflation Reduction Act, as many in this room know, is the single biggest investment in climate and clean energy in the world's history. President Joe Biden understood and recognized that America needed to step forward in its leadership on the climate crisis. And through the Inflation Reduction Act, there are an extraordinary number of investments that are available to local government, to nonprofits, to the private sector, and to so many more. And so the chance for all of us to come together today on Earth Day to both celebrate the progress that has been made and also to deepen our commitment to doing this work going forward really is such a wonderful privilege to be with you today to talk about. As this group may know, today President Biden is announcing $7 billion through the Solar for All program to significantly expand access to community solar to communities in every corner of the country, in particular to low-income and disadvantaged communities. And I think when you take the investment in the Solar for All program, when you look at what we're going to talk about today, something called direct pay and so many more investments, you'll see that the clean energy future, the clean energy revolution is here. And together we can significantly accelerate that work and take it further, and we're looking forward to building that partnership together. Now, so we'll be spending some time today to really go into the details of what direct pay is. So I want to just leave you here with a couple of points to really frame our conversation together. First, what direct pay is it allows for the first time local governments, nonprofits, universities, houses of worship, school districts, and so many more to claim tax credits in the way that the private sector traditionally has, and in this case specifically for clean energy investments. As the mayor talked about, installing solar, buying clean vehicles, installing charging infrastructure, these are all investments that the institutions that you represent now for the first time ever are able to receive these tax credits. And I think there are three key things that I hope you take away no matter what from this conversation today. First of all, if you qualify for the credit, then you get it. What does that mean? If you are an entity, like I just described, think local government, think nonprofit and otherwise, and if you make one of these qualifying clean energy investments, then you receive the credit. These are not competitive. You are not in competition with one another or someone 1,000 miles away. If you qualify for the credit, then you get it. Likewise, these are, generally speaking, these tax credits are not capped either. Therefore, you can make an investment this year and claim a credit. You can make an investment next year and claim the credit again and the year after. And so this also creates the opportunity for you to be really planful about what are the priorities for your community, for your institution, for your neighborhood. Figure out what those are and make a plan that works for you, and then make the investments accordingly. Secondly, direct pay works like it sounds. As the mayor said, this is an arrangement where if you qualify for the credit, you will directly get a payment from the IRS. So if you're the city, this doesn't run through the state. If you're a neighborhood organization, this does not run through the city. It's from the IRS directly to you. And now this is something that will be a different process probably for many of your organizations to do, and so it will be a new process to learn, but this is a direct payment to you to do this work. And finally, we are at the beginning of this thing called direct pay. If you are sitting here today and you say, I haven't heard a lot about this, am I behind? I'm concerned that I don't have enough time to do this. What I'm telling you is, if you are sitting in the room right now with us today, you are right on time. These credits run generally through 2032. And like I said, when you then add in the opportunity that if you qualify for the credit, then you get it, you have the time and the ability to plan and figure out what works for you in a way that works for your community and do that work together. You have the city of Chicago right alongside you every step of the way. The mayor and the team have put together a really powerful package of investments and supports alongside many other technical assistance partners that are out there to help you make these investments. And so I very much encourage you to think about how you can use direct pay in a way that lets you deliver on your priorities, and we're thrilled that we can do this work together with you. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Tananson Carmona from the Department of Treasury. Tananson, over to you.
Oh my gosh, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much, Mayor, Department of Environment, all of you for being here today early on a Monday morning to talk about tax credits. We are so grateful. As a native Chicagoan, born and raised in La Villita, grew up in Pilsen, I'm especially proud to be here on behalf of Treasury. As a national actor now, one could easily start a conversation about Chicago, maybe focused on the challenges, focused on the negatives, but I think being in a room here with all of you who care deeply about this city, I know that as Chicagoans, we look at our city different. We focus more on the beauty. Look at this room. We focus on the potential. We focus on the opportunities. And so I think about that in terms of why. And I think it's because we know what our city could be if it had the resources, if those resources reached all communities. And it's why you have us, first and foremost, as the defenders of our city, the first to claim it when asked, the first to organize within it, because we want to push it to be better, to get access to those resources. And we know that historically, those resources haven't necessarily reached all communities, that historically, a lot of those resources have left communities of color behind, Black communities behind, Latino communities behind. And so it's why I'm especially grateful and proud to see that the Biden-Harris administration is saying no more of that. We're actually going to do things different. We want to be intentional about ensuring that all communities get access to federal resources. And that is, you see that intentionality in the policy. You see it in the way that staff like Ryan and myself are going all across the country talking to state leaders, county leaders, city leaders, folks such as yourself, to try to be that person that you can say, hey, now I have a contact that I can reach out to make sure that we have access to these tax credits, that we know what direct pay is. And so I'm so grateful that Ryan shared a little bit about that background, because truly in the past, the way that it functioned is that the private sector, and had amazing impact by being able to take advantage of these tax credits. So what happens when you give that same opportunity to folks that have been on the front lines of climate action, local governments, nonprofits, community-based organizations? Now they can get a direct payment for doing a clean energy project that meets the requirements and that full value of that tax credit. And so practically speaking, what that means is that we might see, as the mayor was saying, more electric vehicles and school buses roaming around our city, rooftop solar projects in our municipal buildings. It could mean that for classrooms where we want to upgrade our heating and cooling systems, that now we see alternatives that are healthier, that are better for the environment, and that may actually lead to long-term savings that we can put back into the classrooms. It means that for small businesses, we can position them to be leaders in the clean energy sector. That means Black and Latino-led businesses. It means creating the pipelines for our workforce, for our young people to also participate. And so I'm very excited about the potential. The opportunities are endless, and I look forward to the discussion to talk about practically what that can mean, how we can work together to make this a reality. Because I know that by taking advantage of the Inflation Reduction Act, cities, the mayor, are leading and ensuring that our national ambitions are meeting our local realities so that we can have a more sustainable and economically vibrant future for all. So with that, I say thank you, and I would love to welcome John Gay, architect, to share a few remarks himself.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm John Gay, president of Jack Corp International PC. We are a national boutique technical design firm that actually develops what we like to call architectural fusion. This project is an example of advanced adaptive fusion. Advanced adaptive because we're infusing new technology into an edifice that was designed in '63 and built in '69. So a couple of weeks ago, I was at Cut the Red Tape that the mayor presented, and this project also has already taken advantage and been beneficiary of cutting the red tape. This project received an ACAR review, and an ACAR review allowed us to present the concept of cooling this space with less power and less outside air. And we're doing that by infusing VRF through these vents that are actually here and outside air in and out at the corners. If the space triggers CO detection, the very large exhaust fan, if you turn around and look in the rear, that will take 7,000 CFM out of the space, okay, until the CO sensors are resolved. So the beauty of this is a space that was not air conditioned now can be air conditioned without adding new windows. And we wouldn't want to change the windows because the space is already sustainably designed. We could turn the lights off today and they would not be burning any electricity in this space, okay? So next thing that happened, and the head trustee has called me often, but she will be happy to know that we now have permit application number 101-049215. to move this project into phase 1 construction. Phase 2 will actually allow us to move forward with direct pay because on the south-facing roof, that can house up to a 63,000 kilowatt solar array. And when we redesign the parking lot, we will add EV charging. The entire design team and construction team is African American owned, okay? So be on the lookout for K Sparks Construction, Going Green Mechanical, and Electrician on Demand, doing projects like this in conjunction with us, Jack Corp. Other places where direct pay can be a beneficiary of projects that we're working on is historic Quinn Chapel's Underground Railroad Museum that will be heated and cooled with VRF heat pumps. The parking lot will have solar array and EV charging. Lifehouse on the south side as well in Washington Park. We're converting a convent that will house 16 unexpected mothers with a solar array on the roof, heat pumps, hot water heat pumps, and EV charging in a sustainable parking lot. And then moving forward, these are all examples of what we learned in our work with ULI's Decarbonization Chicago. The majority of our buildings in Chicago are existing, so we have to attack those first. And now I'm going to let you know about a new project that is working on their financing right now. Clio Center on 55th and Michigan, we have designed 42 affordable apartments that houses a community center on the ground floor. And I said to T.L. Barrett, I said, let's not do another basketball court. Let's get the community at large ready for the sustainable jobs that are coming next. And so that community center is programmed as a sustainable teaching center. So I keep finding myself, and she laughs every time, in the same room with Angela Tovar. And we have begun to develop a wonderful friendship over the last year. So with that, I would love to bring up Angela Tovar to bring her remarks. Thank you very much.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning. My name is Angela Tovar. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer for the City of Chicago. And more importantly these days, I have the pleasure of introducing myself as the Commissioner of the newly restored Department of Environment. And I want to thank Mayor Johnson and all of the community advocates for making that happen. It has certainly been an exciting budget season to see the newly restored Department of Environment and to be able to build the capacity that we need to both combat the climate crisis and to work in partnership with many of our colleagues here who are advancing our clean energy transition. I have the exciting honor this morning of introducing our facilitator for the panel. And so I want to introduce you all, if you don't know her already, to Sylvia Ewing. And for those of you who don't know Sylvia, she is a self-described Chicago busybody. She is the principal director at Elevate, a nonprofit climate action organization in Chicago. And she is the proud mother of author and scholar Eve Ewing. Sylvia has worked on both sides of the microphone as a journalist, producer, and poet, and she also helps nonprofits, individuals, and advocacy campaigns communicate effectively, implement strategic programs, and embrace change. Sylvia can be seen around the country as an on-air television host for PBS fundraising specials. Let's give Sylvia a warm welcome.
Thank you so much for that. I'm the least important person here today, but I love that kind introduction. I look out and I see old friends, I see Juan Salgado, I see Pastor Unque, I see my colleague from Elevate, and I see you. So what we want to do today is share important information. The panel is pretty amazing, and we're going to invite them to tell you a little more about themselves, their roles, and I'm going to ask them questions. Is that a fair agreement? Are we all good? Great. So the panel, you've met a few of them already, but we've got Ryan Whalen from the White House. He's a special assistant to the president and senior advisor for implementation, and I love his quote, "If you qualify, you will get it." We're joined also by his colleague, Tanazine Kamora, and I love that you are representing Chicago, Chicago first, Chicago always. And she talks a little bit about how we are looking at local reality. And my friend and just role model, Naomi Davis, from Blacks in Green and the new Tic Tac. She'll explain what that means. It's not TikTok, it's Tic Tac. And Jonathan Pereira, the director at Plant Chicago, and someone, when he calls, I like to cancel my calendar and show up, the mayor, Brandon Johnson, who is just doing a stellar job and reminds me of an old friend, Harold Washington. So we couldn't be more blessed. So we've heard a little bit from you earlier, but I'll just ask you again, and Mayor, we know your role because we keep you busy, but say a little bit about why you're excited about the IRA from your perspective. We'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, and good morning again. Thank you, Ms. Ewing, for your leadership. Look, when we're talking about billions of dollars that will help create a new economy for the people of Chicago, but really the people of the world. That's something I'm very excited about. I was just speaking with Angela earlier before he walked in, and we were talking about what retrofit meant in the 80s if you were raised in a certain generation. So Alderman Knudsen is going to have to Google this. But you know, I'm sure many of you probably remember the one air conditioner in the home, and then the blanket over the doorway to conserve that energy, right? Close the door, don't let all my heat out the house, right? And so I'm just thinking about historically what it has meant for Black and brown communities in particular to have a conscientious approach towards energy, and that's always been a part of our experience. But to know that we have an administration, the Biden-Harris administration, that is committed to building a new economy, and then the retrofitting, the ability to create solar, the electrification of our vehicles. There are so many different things that I'm excited about, but really to see our hopes and aspirations come to fruition in a way in which we can build an economy around it, that part I'm humbled by it, but certainly very excited about it.
Thank you so much. I'm going to come to this side with that same question, your name, role, and what excites you about the IRA, and I'll start with Naomi.
Hi, Naomi Davis. Greetings, cousins. The CEO and founder of BIG, otherwise known as Blacks in Green. And for me, the most exciting thing is the Region 5 thriving communities, technical assistance centers, that's the TICTAC Sylvia referred to, the fact that in the 6 states of Region 5, organizations that are tiny and organizations that are large developers and entities that are municipalities and everyone in between has a chance to tap into the trillions of the Biden-Harris Thriving Communities initiative. The idea that we've been protesting and we've been praying and we've been working all the angles for this moment, and it's here, and it's time to get the word out, get the people in. I could go on a long time, but I'll hold that thought until Sylvia brings me back.
Thank you so much, Naomi. Give her a round of applause. And John Pereira, who you are and what excites you about the IRA.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan Pereira, the Executive Director of Plant Chicago. Good morning. I need Naomi to whip up the crowd for me to get an applause. Thank you. I just used you to get my own applause. Exciting. So I know many of you are also from nonprofits working on infrastructure projects. Plant Chicago, we are in the process of retrofitting a former Chicago firehouse to be a center for circular economy programming. We are operating out of it now. And as a nonprofit, I'm sure many of you are very familiar with many of us over the years have faced location insecurity. We're often at the whims of developers or landlords that their interest in our being there is ephemeral, so we actually, ephemeral, it's Earth Day. So for us to actually be able to purchase our property a few years ago and know that there are funds now that we are not fighting over. Oftentimes we feel like we're all dealing with the leftovers that individuals, foundations and businesses are willing to give us. For us to install renewable energy, decommission our gas-powered space heaters, and install air source heat pumps is amazing. And so right now, I know I'm in the thick of it, many of you are in the thick of it, and think about how are we going to get this. So really excited to learn more today.
Thank you. Give him a round of applause. I feel like everybody's gotten their hand. We're going to keep it rolling. Coming back over to my sister from Pilsen, Tonazine, you've given us a little bit of a primer, but say more about the IRA tax credits and direct pay.
Absolutely. So this is like when you were saying, like, I'm going to ask you to say a little bit more of your job. This is kind of our job. Like, we go around talking about tax credits, and so how do you keep it lively? Overall, though, it's about a dozen or so that qualify under like direct pay, used for qualifying under the direct pay mechanism. which would be about 4 different categories: energy generation, manufacturing, vehicles, and fuels. The way I like to think about it, at least at the local level, is the practical experience. So a lot of times we're thinking about electric vehicles, we're thinking about solar projects, small projects, large projects. We're thinking about the heating and cooling systems in our buildings. And I think in addition to thinking about the tax credits and the direct pay mechanism, which is essentially you start a project, it qualifies under those 12 tax credits, you'll get a direct payment, those checks that the mayor was talking about, from the IRS, and you have the discretion to decide what you use that for. And different places are doing different things with that. Some folks are putting it back into a revolving fund to create more projects. Some folks are making different decisions. But the other thing that I would add is that there's also these incredible bonus incentives. And so when I talk about like how do you incentivize equity? How do you incentivize certain things within the tax code? The bonus credits are amazing because let's say you have a project that the qualifying tax credit, it's valued at about 6%, so you would get 6% of that total investment back in a direct payment. But if you meet, say, the prevailing wage and apprenticeship requirements, that 6% can grow to 30%, so 5 times as much. Let's say your project is in a low-income community and it meets that bonus requirement, then that you get another 10%, and so you can keep stacking the bonuses. The other wonderful thing about all of this, quite frankly, is that there's no rules, or there are very few rules around the way that you can blend and braid with loans and grants. And so there are ways that you can build out entire projects, get that money back. You won't get more than what the project was worth, but enough to say like, hey, 100%, if we can do the math, all of a sudden projects that maybe didn't pencil out before not only do, but probably are the cheaper, the alternative that makes more sense for a city. And so now you can start thinking about, what do we do with that money that we get back? And that creates even more ideas and more opportunities for this ecosystem to come together and build on that.
Thank you so much. And Ryan, why don't you elaborate on that?
When you think about the power of direct pay, there are a few other points that I would share and suggest here. First of all, these clean energy investments likely on their own may or may not be something that you're doing, but would likely be part of a larger strategy, some other priorities that you're trying to deliver on. Are you building a community resilience center? And you want to think about all the different ways that you can build and develop neighborhood connectivity and community connectivity in times of crisis. Can you integrate clean energy dimensions to that? As you're thinking about affordability in a beautiful facility like this church, how can you use clean energy to really significantly improve affordability for the operations of your building? But really starting with your organizational and institutional goals and strategy, and then thinking about the way that clean energy can help you advance that, and you can take advantage of steps that you're taking as an institution, I think is a very important place to start. Second, really think about the partnerships that are available to you. Again, the city of Chicago, I think, is one of the best examples out there of a city that is thinking about ways to use their resources and their technical knowledge and insights to help you as partners and institutions do this work. So turning to the city, turning to the TICTAC, as you heard about just now, there are incredible resources that are there, but there's a real opportunity for you to not just do this by yourself, and you can do this in partnership with others. And then lastly, as I mentioned, this is the very beginning of direct pay. This is the very beginning of institutions like yours doing this work, and you're going to see examples across Chicago, across Illinois, and around the country of organizations that are doing this. And so you're going to see all kinds of fantastic examples that you should liberally copy in the ways that you are doing your work as well. And I think when you combine the details and specifics of how direct pay works, and you combine that with partnerships with the city, with the great examples around the country of what you're doing, and you think about your goals, that's the real opportunity to leverage this once-in-a-generation moment to not only deliver for the world and for the country, but for the things that you care about as your community.
Thank you. I love that copy, collaborate versus compete. And that brings me to you, Mayor Johnson. Direct pay represents an exciting opportunity for government and nonprofit entities. Tell us more about what the City of Chicago is pursuing and how you plan to use direct pay.
Yeah, thank you very much. I wasn't sure where you were going with the question when you transitioned from copying. That brings me to you, Mr. Johnson. Okay, when I was teaching, I did copy a couple of lesson plans, but it was only once. Well, they just put you on the spot, Ewing. So, I think I alluded to this earlier. I'm really excited about how our government buildings are moving towards more energy efficient buildings. And so the work that we're starting within our libraries and beginning to expand that, that's going to be critical for us. I think the way government is positioned to help ignite not just environmental justice, but a stronger economy that we can build around environmental justice. Again, going back to your initial question around the excitement, is that this ordinance that we have put forward that is working to, move with expediency, decarbonization, the dependency and the footprint of these combustions and fossil fuels have created a tremendous amount of hazard. I reference respiratory illness as well as asthma. Having grown up with asthma, spent, my times at Cook County Hospital trying to get an inhaler. The more we can do as government to create those type of incentives where people do not have to wait tirelessly to see the benefit of partnering with government, the more confidence that people will have in government. Our brother mentioned earlier about our Cut the Tape initiative and how development has been slowed as a result of just the arduous process of going through the bureaucratic structure. When families have to apply with the government around these incentives and it takes months on ends just to see the benefit from it, the life that people are experiencing, particularly in Black and brown communities where hot spots like Austin, where I'm raising my family, the southeast side of Chicago, we were just out there over the weekend. Slowing that process down is not just harming our environment, it's harming the future of our economy. So the work that we are doing to show and demonstrate our commitment while also cutting the tape so that we can expedite the incentive aspect so more and more families develop and gain more confidence in what government has a responsibility to do.
Thank you. So it's not that we're the government, we're here to help, and people go, oh, well, this is real. And Jonathan, I'm gonna come over to you as a nonprofit leader. Talk about what the IRA and those billions, we get to say the word billions, what does it mean to you in practical reality?
Well, billions would mean a lot if it was coming to us. I think just going back to my first comment, knowing that there are funds out there to help with infrastructure projects, so many nonprofits, we have spent a lot of time talking about things that we couldn't actually do in terms of infrastructure. So going from not owning a building to owning a building, to know that, okay, now we want to install solar and decarbonize the building, and we're not a for-profit, we have to rely on philanthropy to do it. Knowing that there's this other money that's coming, that can come to help support it is huge. And again, it's not, it's if you do it, we will get it. Or if we did it, I forget the quote. We're going to do it, and we have done it, and I hope we get it.
Well, and here's someone who has done it and is getting it, making sustainable miles. I do want to quote Naomi. I'm pretty direct. Naomi said, stop paying white people to solve Black people's problems. And I'm going to pass it to you. What does this mean for your organization, for the mission of Blacks in Green, and for the communities you care about?
Well, it's just a joy to be able to execute our mission to catalyze self-sustaining Black communities everywhere, and to use the clean energy economy, especially in that process. The idea that we have a place, blacksandgreen.org, blacksandgreen.org, where you can go and you can register to be a part of the Big Justice Tic Tac, and in that situation get totally free technical assistance in identifying and writing the grants, in building the capacity of your organization. We have a free monthly lunch and learn, the next one coming up mid-May, called Get Your Paperwork Together. Okay, we understand, because we are one, what it means to be a community-based organization, really striving to serve the interests of our community. And so when we do practical and tactical services like Get Your Paperwork Together, we know, because we're the only Black community-based organization in the country to have applied for the Tic Tac, and it was only because we believed that we could. And so we're walking that walk to show everyone, look, if we could do it, you can do it. We're here to make sure that we provide every support we can to see that you do it. And examples of a spectrum of services that we have on today's theme, especially of energy, is we have a 12-point energy justice portfolio that we're offering free, open source. We've spent 5 years, and I'm not going to tell you how much money to develop our 9-megawatt solar, community-driven. We've got Chris Meister in the house from the Illinois Finance Authority. I knew I was going to do that. But they're getting $156 million from the federal government to facilitate work on the ground, to make sure pre-development funds are available. We're a recipient. What happens when the environmental justice communities of Aurora, Naperville, and Romeoville can have community systems that they own that reduce their monthly costs, where they have the opportunity to build an economy where there are not just jobs, but there is a supply chain. There are companies that are coming in. We have a geothermal pilot from the Department of Energy. What in the world is that? Well, I won't give you the gory details. Do you get it? Gory details. But I will say that it's 20 blocks in West Woodlawn, where our Sustainable Square Mile goes. And it's in partnership with the city. And it's coming down the alleyways. And it's going to be opted in at the will of neighbors who are ready at that time to save money every month, to be a part of this pilot of what does it mean to own energy systems, to be sovereign in that way, and we'll be repaving them with permeable so that the stormwater management situation in communities are alleviated. And I love to say about Mayor Johnson, he knows that I call him this, the patron saint of the people of the Orange Cord. And what that means is, in his victory speech and in his inaugural speech, he referred to that moment when his father would come home and thank God for the orange cord connecting their house to their neighbor's house in those times when the money don't meet. Okay, because energy is a life essential service. It's not affordable. We have the People's Utility Rate Relief Act in the General Assembly right now. And let me say this, I know. It's open source for you to take wherever you are in whatever state, use it however you can. We're opening up our books and we're saying, come get it. And this is the joy of this work.
Well, I'm going to ask you to keep the mic for a brief overview of the challenges. Going after federal funding, the challenges and barriers to the success as you navigate the IRA.
Well, you know, I wouldn't be honest if I didn't say, yeah, we're a small community-based organization that had the chutzpah to apply for this grant. If I didn't also say that we're learning as we go about just how complex it is, and that compliance is king, and that there's many mistakes you can make. We've made a bunch of them. And to have the funds to pay the consultants who are experts in compliance to keep us honest, to keep us straight, so we can sleep at night, okay? It's not a joke. So the idea that we are working in a granular level with our communities to help them to avoid some mistakes, and also to say back to the EPA and others, because they're extremely receptive to feedback. It's a brand new program. It's a brand new implementation. Hey, here's what's working. Here's what's not working. Here's some policy ideas you might want to sift in, and some practical implementation matters that you might want to pivot on. So the paperwork is no joke. Mid-May, get your paperwork together. We're here for you.
Thank you so much. Naomi Davis. Jonathan, tell us about some of your challenges and barriers.
Sure. So right now, you know, we've already installed a solar array on the roof of the building, and this year we'll be doing a major retrofit of the HVAC system and doing energy efficiency improvements. So knowing we are eligible for the ITC for 2023, and we got a tax deadline coming up, and no accountant has ever done this before or ever says, like, I know what to do. And so I'm having conversations with accountants saying, nope, no, we got to fill out Form 3468, 3800, and 990T, getting in arguments being, no, we need to fill out 990T. And so never in my life did I think I would be getting excited about accounting or enough to actually be on a panel talking about taxes. You mean it's late? I just learned I had a dream. It was just satisfied right now. But those are the challenges, is that still like working through what forms. I know it's there for us. I know what numbers should go in there. I just don't know where they should go, and I don't want to make a mistake.
Thank you for that. And Naomi, I'm going to come back to you for one more question, and that's about the resources from the TICTAC. You talked about it a little bit, but a little more.
The resources that are available to
nonprofits.
Okay, so when we talk about the municipalities, for example, we have hundreds, probably thousands, throughout the region of municipalities with deferred maintenance, water and sewer, broadband, the funds that are necessary for, again, these energy sovereignty systems. What about that retrofit? How are you working that at scale? How are you training your workforce? So the idea is that there are many thousands of grants that are available. It is a waterfall. We do provide the service of sifting and sorting through them to help you kind of find your bearings. But whether you're a small organization looking for your first federal grant, $25,000, $75,000, or whether you're one of the villages here in Cook County looking for $300 million to upgrade. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You're not going to see it again. Get in the queue. Get your team together. And the opportunity is also in the fact that municipalities are duty-bound to partner with community-based organizations. It's poetry, people. The fact that we have an opportunity as small organizations and small and large municipalities too, but the idea of there's a partnership embedded in there, incentivized in there, that never existed before. And so the idea for you to be able to decarbonize your whole community or take care of persistent flooding issues that we know so much about, that money is there now. and the technical expertise. One of our partners, we have 6 partners in our TICTAC, is the University of Illinois Smart Energy Design Assistance Center. Do you need engineering? Do you need drawings? Do you need blueprints? This precedes, in your stack of financing. It's a threshold that you have to pass, and it's been stopping us cold because not to have the funding to do that, not having the friends to do that. It's just really a spectacular sort of salad of relationships that are available.
Thank
Yum,
you.
yum. Earth Day.
Thank you so much for that. It's a new era of abundance that we knew was there, but we didn't have the political will to embrace it. Speaking of that political will, coming back to our friends from Washington, Tanazine, talk a little bit about the technical resources, again, available, because that technical application, worrying about the accounting and the blueprints and all of that is real.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought it up because, and quite frankly, I loved everything that you were sharing about the TICTACs. I think they're a phenomenal resource, and I really do recommend reaching out. I mean, we go to different places, and some cities are more well on their way than others. I think Chicago, I really love the example of what's happening in which you're saying, here are these federal investments, but you also have funds from the city of Chicago to help with that upfront financing for some of these projects like we're seeing and we're discussing today. For places or not, like let's say you're a tax exempt entity, you're a nonprofit, and you're trying to figure out how to navigate this, a really great place to start is your TICTAC to help you start to begin that navigation process. But thankfully, in a city like Chicago, we also have this amazing ecosystem. We have already city leaders that are thinking about this. So what I'm excited about is seeing what's going to end up happening in the city of Chicago, in our parks, in our school districts, and what to the point of like copying and collaboration. Yes, I'm sure we're like Chicago will take advantage of the examples that they're seeing all across the country. But I think others are also going to look to Chicago and say, "Wow, look at that. We should do what they're doing." And so what I would say is everyone wants to sometimes start with, oh, these are all these tax credits. Let me see like what I should start with based on the tax credits. And sometimes it's worth it to maybe take a step back and say, well, what is my sustainability plan, my climate action plan if you're a local government? What do we have in our capital plan in terms of the capital projects? What are the types of things we had already been thinking about but maybe didn't make financial sense? And then trying to see what are your questions and what do you need. In some cases, especially if you're maybe a little under-resourced, don't have a lot of the capacity, the TICTAC is a great place to start. Other times, it might be specific tax advice. At Treasury, we're not allowed to give tax advice. However, you can go and find tax counsel and have somebody help you navigate some of those specific questions to filing the forms. What I will say, though, is the IRS Treasury does have a lot of resources on its website. So there's irs.gov/elective pay. Highly recommend going to that. There's specific information in terms of the tax credits themselves. There's information about how to file. The process for filing, you have to pre-register. Once you've identified a project, you pre-register, you get a number back, that's your number. Once you're ready to move forward with the filing process and you identify your calendar year, which I will say, or your tax year, it is important to think about if you've been a tax-exempt entity and you haven't done this before. The steps are on the website. There's a guide to help you navigate it. It is worth going through it. Because once you do that, you put your project into service, you file with that number, it's pretty straightforward, and you should be able to get, at least our goal is to have you get your check within 45 days. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, but the idea is that it's supposed to be step-by-step process, fairly straightforward. The resources are there. And like I said earlier, now you have a contact. Now you know if you have questions, you have two faces in front of you. If we don't know the answer, we can often connect you. Because sometimes, people have specific questions at Treasury, but maybe the question, I can divert it to my DOE colleague, my EPA colleague, and make sure that you get an answer.
In Chicago, we like to know a guy, so it's very good that we do. Ryan, your brief addition to that same question about resources, and then we are going to come to you for your questions, not your speeches. I'm not sure how we're moderating that. But we will come to you, so think about what you might want to ask this august panel. And can we just get a round of applause for the mayor for hanging with us on Earth Day? A lot of things he can be doing, but he knows the climate crisis is coming for all of us, and we can work together to respond. Oh, and the First Lady is here too. Where is she? Yeah, I'm just looking at you. Getting me all geeked out and excited. But Ryan, it's really about you.
Hardly. So just to wrap up, what I would say is that what we're seeing around the country is that so many different partners are really stepping up to help local governments, help nonprofits and others do this work. And so in addition to the fantastic resources that Treasury has put together, and I really do encourage folks to look at that, I think you're seeing across philanthropy, across fantastic organizations like Elevate that do such fantastic technical work across the Tic Tacs and otherwise. There's this ever-growing coalition of partners who understand that success in this work is only done together. And so what I would say is ask questions of your local philanthropy, of your nonprofits, to us and others to understand who is stepping forward in this work, because I can tell you that in every corner of the country, folks are raising their hand, recognizing that this is a shared endeavor. And as we go forward and as folks go through this for the first time ever, and we see those great examples, those are also going to be documented and shared and lifted up in a way that we're all going to benefit from the fact that we're doing this together. And so encourage you to be part of that full movement that we're in together to deliver on a clean energy future.
Thank you so much for that, and applause, please. At Elevate, pilot is our middle name. We understand that you've got to practice, you've got to make some mistakes to help other people follow the path. So opening up the floor to questions, you can stand up, we'll see you, and we'll figure it out. Sir. West Side.
I don't want to go all the way back, but I just want to say good morning. Anthony Green is my name, and I'm born and raised on the west side of Chicago. I guess one of my main concerns that I was having a conversation recently, I love the fact about the EV program and everything that we're going. I'm asking, have you all thought about the mitigating factors of vandalism? When I see these EV stations, when you're putting up EV stations, I think one of the major enemies is going to be the element of vandalism. So how do you combat vandalism on these EV projects? Thank you.
Okay, I'm not here to answer the question, but I remember people saying we couldn't have divvy bikes, we couldn't have this and that. People know how to act, but that's just Sylvia. Who wants to answer that question? Yes. Naomi, you're jumping in there too.
Well, I just think, people want to live. Black people want to live in beautiful, prosperous, comfortable, joyous places. This is true in our spirits. And the more we see, the more we are fed, and the more we rise to the dream and the vision of having that. So I just see, frankly, and this is just Naomi, I see it taking care of itself as more funds come into the community, as people can see the improvements. On my block, where I moved in 2010, we seized the lot, city-owned lot, don't tell anybody, and we just made it gorgeous, and we've kept it over the last several. People used to drop clamshells, liquor bottles, every doggone thing, but when they saw that there was a commitment and that there was consistency, things changed. And that's how I believe the change will happen.
And it's how we roll it. It's a very good question. It's how we roll it out. We talk a lot about those who are most impacted by the disinvestment and the harm have to be a part of the solution. And when there's real community benefit and understanding of how this is transforming lives, building an economy, there are stronger incentives to take care of it and to value it. And so it's as much as we can, and this is part of our effort as well, as much as we are able to connect this to a new economy, our young people understanding, quite frankly, I think better than some adults or many adults, of the harm that has been caused by the failures of previous administrations, particularly one, in particular at the federal level, who didn't even believe in the, Environmental Protection Agency, right? And so the more we can educate and support our young people to understand that this is not just about their health security, this is about their economic stability as well. That type of value system, I believe, is innate. And the more we can demonstrate a commitment to that, the stronger I believe we'll rally around these new investments.
And thank you so much for your first question. I saw someone pass a mic. If you have a mic in your hand, stand up. Thank you.
Is this on? Okay, it's on. Okay, hi. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Ayana Simba with the Illinois Environmental Council. I think I have a question mostly for the White House folks. I know you spoke a lot about different organizations that can apply for this funding, but I'm wondering about individual people. Like I have people in my family that are flipping homes and wondering like, how can I take advantage of the IRA? And even with the organization, a lot of alders like, how can I direct my constituents? So I wonder if you can speak to some of the individual benefits and how people can apply for IRA.
Thank you.
Appreciate this question because one of the things that I think is most powerful about the IRA is that there's really something in it for everybody, whether it's local governments, nonprofits, whether it's the private sector, but also individuals and households. And so there are a couple of categories that I think that households can be looking to. Number one, on the home energy efficiency side, first there are federal tax credits that you would access through your personal or family tax return around both home energy efficiency investments. Think about heat pumps, think about insulation, things like that, and also purchasing electric vehicles. And so those are federal tax credits available today and going forward as well. In addition, on the home energy efficiency side, there's a set of rebate programs that are being stood up state by state that apply to both energy efficient appliances, and then think about anything from a heat pump or refrigerator or washer and dryer over to installing things like insulation as well. And so those would be at the point of sale at a Home Depot or otherwise, or working with a contractor. Those are stood up state by state. Illinois right now is working with the Department of Energy on theirs, and so more to come later on that. But the federal tax returns, tax incentives are available today, and then rebates to come later on.
Thank you. I know you have the mic, but was there a question over here? And can you get the mic, please? And then I'll come to you. And I think you'll be the last question. Thank you.
Hi, and it's an honor to be here with you, Mayor. My name is Gary Lewis. I started a non-for-profit organization. I was in business for 5 years. My organization, or my business, is I Am Dad 365, whereas I promote fatherhood because I see the correlation between the violence and the lack of dads. And I just want to know, how could a small business like myself get started with you guys? And by the way, I'm opening up an apparel business right on 43rd and Cottage Grove. I'm building out the space right now, so the energy and all of that I can make use of. Thank you.
Angela?
So I was gonna pass it to Angela. Angela.
Thank you. You can use Jonathan's mic.
I'm happy to sub in here as a panelist. So that's great. And you know, I will say that we hear about folks like you every single day, people that are coming to us that say, you know, I have a storefront, or I have, you know, a new business that I'm starting, and we have a number of resources that are available. I want to call out two people, and if they can raise their hand. Lindy Wardlaw, who manages our Climate Infrastructure Fund here, and she's our Director of Climate and environmental justice initiatives, and I want to make sure that you all connect. And I'm going to call him out back there, Luke Mish from our Department of Planning and Development. They run a very large portfolio of investments that we have as a city, and these are the types of investments that we're making to ensure that we have the seed money available so that as people like you are launching your business and you want to make the clean energy transition, you can take our money first and then layer on this tax incentive, and we want to make sure that you're successful. We're going to leave plenty of time at the end of this to make sure that we can make these connections. That's one thing we're going to encourage you to do, is to stick around so that you're talking to folks. But I want to make sure that you all are connected as well. So thank you.
I love it when the Americans say, come on, let's talk, because that's, your team is ready. And our last question. Hello?
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Angela Ford. I am the Executive Director of the Obsidian Collection Archives and owner of the Lou Palmer Mansion right down the street. I'm really excited to hear about all of these tax incentives because we're redeveloping the space that's been closed for 20 years, but it's a 135-year-old historic mansion. I will fight you that it's the most beautiful mansion on the south side of Chicago, period. My question is this to our national team. Are those payments monthly, annually, ongoing, one time? I'm curious.
Well, it would depend on the project, but the idea would be, you're not capped in terms of the number of projects that you pull together. So let's say it's solar related, but then you also do like energy efficiency upgrades. Like you have potential, you would essentially file for each project and you would get a one-time payment for each project. Now I would say for most. So like let's say you're using investment tax credit. That would be, you would get a one-time payment. However, if you are talking about a production tax credit, so you're maybe doing an energy generating project and it makes sense, you might say you would get an ongoing payment based on how much energy you're essentially producing, and there's specific numbers. And so that would be an ongoing payment for up to like 10 years. And so it depends on the project. For some folks, it has made sense more to like take advantage of the investment tax credits and all of those that fall under that, because then you just get the one-time payment for each of those projects. For others, they're like, hey, like I'm doing this massive energy generation project. It actually might make sense to get payments over time. So it depends. But I will follow up with you because I actually would love to make sure you have all of the information you need for your mansion.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for our panel. I stay on time. I do have one last quick question, just to recap, because I feel like you've shared such outstanding information today. But in 30 seconds or so, like what's the takeaway for getting started, getting prepared, applying? And I'll start with you, Jonathan, because of your situation. And Angela, I'll give you a play too, but Jonathan and Angela, then Naomi.
I'll say we were committed to this before we even knew there were going to be funds available. So for a nonprofit, engaging your board, getting everyone on board that this is what we want to do, leaning into your other nonprofit partners, especially those of us that are going through this process. I'm more than happy to share. I have more challenges as well I didn't share today, but I'm happy to talk you through some of the mistakes I've already made. And just real quick, the gentleman there, we installed EV chargers 3 years ago and have not had a single issue with vandalism. They are also publicly available as well. So we were very deliberate about making sure that apartment dwellers near us had access to those chargers after hours. So we have people that come and park overnight and use those as well. So don't let the threat of vandalism stop any of this work. So
it was a great question. I just get triggered.
Yeah. Always good.
Angela?
I'll just say quickly that we are here to work for you and to realize your vision for the community. It's time for us as government to understand that we are working for you to uplift your vision. And you all have the vision of what that looks like in the community. You all have the vision for what a clean energy transition looks like. And it's our duty to make sure that you're successful. So please count on us, reach out to us. Let us do the heavy lifting to support you in this transition. Thank you.
Trying to make me cry.
And I'll say to Angela's point about your vision, Blacks and Green is known for our sustainable square mile system. That's that walk to work, walk to shop, walk to learn, walk to play village, where African Americans own the businesses, own the land, and live the conservation lifestyle. And that's simply that households and homesteads generate their own energy, grow their own food, clean their own water when it's legal in Chicago, and recycle their own waste. And this is our version, our vision of thriving communities. The Biden-Harris administration has just dropped you in a big old vat of good luck that those services of how to replicate the sustainable square mile system are offered, again, free open source coaching and mentoring. Join the cohort. We've got Cleveland over at our sustainable square mile right now, getting that same deep tissue replication service that the Tic Tac has allowed us the opportunity to create. I'll say we have a church in the neighborhood a half a block from the Till Family House Museum, 6427 South St. Lawrence, which we're decarbonizing and showing our neighbors step by step how you do it, and a clean energy auditing workforce program to go with it. Come get in the game, play with us, because when you have a church like this beautiful edifice, they mentioned the resilience centers. We purchased that church specifically. It's got a glorious basement where heating and cooling, again, when your money don't meet, where are you vested in your neighborhood where you can come and be a part of community like we used to be, that we can provide that climate crisis solution for you. These are the things that it is our great joy. Thank you, EPA. And thank you, Mayor Johnson, for being a visionary for what's possible with the Sustainable Square Mile in Chicago.
Thank you. Ryan, I'll ask you to wrap up with your thoughts as well.
Number one, I failed to mention on the household piece, energy.gov/save is a great place that anyone should go to see what they are eligible for. But President Biden really is committed to delivering on a clean energy future for all Americans, particularly those who have been impacted by environmental justice and energy community challenges. And so we're thrilled that all of these resources are available to you. As you heard here, start with your vision. What do you want to accomplish? What do you care about? Number two, take advantage of the partners who are stepping up to the plate, like the city and so many others, to do this work. And then number three, don't be shy about calling upon our resources. We have so many that are available for you, and we are thrilled for all of our partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mayor Johnson.
Well, if you all could just help me out, can we thank Sylvia for moderating our fine panel today? Thank you all for being here. Again, look, Angela really summed it up the best. This is about a partnership. We have an administration, the Biden-Harris administration, that has demonstrated an incredible amount of commitment to climate justice. I'm grateful that my wife has joined us today, the First Lady. This is a strong initiative that she is leading on. Yes, you can clap it up for her. Those claps help my marriage when I go home tonight, so thank you. I wanted to turn our backyard into a mini replica of Wrigley Field, and my wife said, no, we have to do what our ancestors knew to do, and to know that we are in a moment where the hopes and aspirations of sustainability, life sustainable initiatives, that's really what this is about. And so building an economy around sustainable and clean energy is just a powerful testament to not only what's possible, but what our ultimate responsibility is to the earth, right? Because the earth is the Lord, the fullness thereof. How about that, Pastor? I was just trying my best here. And one more time for our Pastor Montgomery for being a great host.
Thank you so much. I'll just do my final thoughts. It's so beautiful to look out and to see you. Remember, Chicago is a leader in all things. we are stewards of the earth for 7 generations ahead. And we have had so many times of competition, like crabs in a barrel, and other people's vision. We can make your dream your community dream, and then see what resources can help you manifest them on the earth plane now. And together in this new era, we've got the resources to have resilience hubs, so when extreme heat or extreme weather or extreme cold comes, Ewings love libraries. We've always had the library, but now you can have your own community place where you're not afraid, where you and your family can go. And there's a new vision also, not just about conservation, but understanding that while we work to combat the climate crisis, we have to address the situations of disinvestment and environmental pollution that people live with right now. So clean energy is for everyone. This health is for everyone, for my grandchildren, for my legacy and yours. So thank you so much for being with us today, and happy Earth Day.